All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 6th of July, 2025. Yesterday was my birthday. I'm 26 years old, brother, officially. So, yeah, this is episode 143 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. The title of this is Utah. I'm going to go over a lot of things of the state of Utah, the United States of America. That's where we are based under In the Image Clothing Company. And yeah, there's actually a lot that I can get into talking about with Utah. A little bit of context because we'll have a lot of events in Utah, like Poodle Parade events under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. So yeah, I'm going to give quite a lot of context on what Utah is, the state here, mostly geographically, biologically, okay, like the landscape, the terrain, and then some history of the gospel of Jesus Christ through the restored church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as well, because Utah is where the Church of Jesus Christ is not only based, well, specifically the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but that's also where the founders of the church pioneered over to, if you will, from the east side of the United States of America. So, yeah, I'll do this as I do, play a little bit of guitar, talk about each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, and then where clothing sits, and then our discussion will then commence then after we do this, okay? Then is when it will happen. But here's the thing is, Little Red the guitar here, JG610R by Johnson, 3/4 size. My mom gave me some new strings yesterday for my birthday. I didn't even ask, she just gave them to me, and it's great. She actually got me the exact strings that I would purchase for myself. We've bought them before, and she knew what they were, but yeah, so Little Red has new strings that I put on him yesterday, okay? And he hasn't had, well, I don't know actually what strings he's had on him since I bought him, but they were used from another guitar, and yeah, I don't think they were quite what I would normally put on anyway. They just didn't feel quite what I was used to, right? I like regular tension. It's also known as low tension, but yeah, these are great. So I'm just gonna kind of play through a C major chord shape and just kind of mess around for a minute. He might be still slightly out of tune. Nylon strings especially, they take a little bit of time to fully stretch into their, full stretch. So shoot, I can actually play guitar, don't worry about it. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting for a few reasons. I'll explain actually a few here before we even get into this discussion. First of all, the capo is not even fully above the fret, so that's not quite how you capo. Usually, at least, ideally, you do it right above the fret. The reason I say that, well, besides just that's the case, is there's some fret buzz, and there is because I've done adjustments to Little Red, the guitar here. Got the saddle on a really pretty darn good angle. For those of you in visual plus audio of the Image Clothing Company podcast, you can see the saddle is this piece here that goes across down here at the bridge on the bottom, where the strings have their break angle over. But yeah, I've done quite a few things here. Plus, there's nylon strings on a steel string designed guitar. I just do crazy things with nylon strings. I'm Evan Strong. I'm good at guitar. Don't believe me, but sometimes I play something magical. You know what I mean? And other times it's like, does the kid even know? Who do you say that I am, right? So anyway, I like it though. I really love this guitar a lot, and these strings are so much better. So much better than what I was playing with before on this guitar. It's awesome. And I love that C major chord shape. Yeah, I play in that C major like that. Right, just a regular C major. This is capoed on the 5th fret for context. But also we might be falling out of tune slightly. But then you move the middle finger and the ring finger just up one string higher. And you've got that chord. I don't know the name of it right now. But... And then I just do a lot of hammer-ons between those two and take fingers off and put them back on within the same chord shape and... pick through it because I'm a finger-style guitarist mostly when it comes to guitar. I'm really good, okay? All of a sudden I laugh like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, bro. Alright, anyway, I just wanted to play a little bit because yesterday was hard for me, man. I was sitting in the grass on my birthday, alone. Doesn't that sound so sad? No, voluntarily is what it was, but... It was hard. I was just sitting there. I almost broke Red the guitar just out of transparency. I mean, I just kind of bashed him on the ground a few times. Honestly, I mean, I was just really mad. It was hard for me. I've talked about it. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Greatest Battle, and guitar has been the greatest battle of my life for the reasons that I need to be playing it, right? And so it's something to push through, and yeah, I'm doing that. It's hard sometimes. Yeah. So... keep pushing, right? The things that are trying to stop you from doing what you need to do, that's, intentional. That's to make you stronger in it as you go. Yeah. Good things. Okay, so this is where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we have deep dive discussions on what I call the truth of all things. But that's what it's called in Scripture, is the truth of all things. The gospel of Jesus Christ is not a religion to preach. It's the truth. We're all human beings on the same earth. We have one God. We discuss it as it is. We discuss God as he says that he is. I never could or will do that perfect, but I try, okay? And I do it pretty well, if I'm going to say so, right? I mean, that's what we do here, and that's what my whole life is geared around. That's what In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word name as a whole, is geared around, because... we're designed in the image of Jesus Christ. Our bodies are just a physical, operable, mechanical machine on a rock in space, okay? And so that's what we do on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Another one of our fourths is we discuss the anatomy of the human body. In depth, we talk about how to allow the human body to work. You can never train it. A machine that only has neutral positions to the joints and has a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and then the jaw, naturally stabilizing the entire body. On Earth's gravity, we have to stay in the center. You can't train something to do that. It's designed to work by God. It just will unless anything alters it. So clothing placed on us, imbalanced. Shoelaces, just ropes, right? Drawstrings, just ropes. Even belts, they're just thicker ropes, right? Yeah, man. Zippers, buttons. I don't word all these things that often lately. I haven't, at least, and at the founding, I said a lot more stuff in depth just so I really got it documented at the founding, right? But yeah, I mean, it's not just like only having clothing fit correct, but you've got seams that need to be even and not be twisting, and all the things that I just mentioned. even socks coming up your legs, they need to follow that outward curvature of your lower leg, you know, and just follow the inline position of your lower legs that actually do bow outward slightly, right? From the heel of our feet, traveling through the neutral ankle, up our lower leg to our knee. It's this outward bow. Yeah, because we have 2 feet opposing the center, gripping arches inward, keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity. And yeah, because of all this, our clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, we'll discuss here in a minute, and be made from 100% natural materials because our bodies are made out of only 100% natural materials. We're just pulled from the clay. We're just what we ate. Anything unnatural just goes through us and doesn't benefit us and actually harms us because our body has to process it through it and it doesn't receive anything from it. But that's one thing I need to stop saying is I've been phrasing it often, you know, in the past up until now as ideally 100% natural materials. No, we just need it. I mean, if you can't get it, you can't get it in whatever way that could be in a certain time, maybe. But in clothing, we need 100% natural materials because there's only natural. The goal for all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company is natural. Nature was here before us, human beings, it'll be here after us. That's all there is. We've, you know, cooked up concoctions of unnatural things in factories, but these things don't decompose. Like I was saying, if it's within food, well, it's not benefiting us. It's only damaging us, if anything. It's a need, not only an ideal. It's just what would have been there if we didn't get in the way. Natural is what I'm saying, okay? Yeah, that's how the Image Clothing Company is so huge and always will just be massive. Truly, it's not about us. We didn't design it. We can't decide it. It's not my opinions. The goal is natural. The focus of getting our bodies to operate is unrestricting, releasing and ridding the scar tissue and patterning. It's always on the back end. Just like the gospel of Jesus Christ, the truth of all things is paradoxical. It's on the back end. Doesn't make sense, but it works. It makes sense to some, not to others, right? That's the scripture. These things will make sense to some, not to others, right? But those who want the truth within this, they will peer deeply into it, right? Yeah, so that's what we do, right? We get deep. I get in depth with things. That's why our videos are sometimes very, very long under In the Image Clothing Company. I discuss things to such a degree that there's no possible dispute because truth is truth. Truly. Couldn't be anything else, right? Things are just what they are. So anyway, holy cow. Let's proceed to another 4th of us, In the Image Clothing Company music. That's where you'll hear more of what you heard in the intro here, guitar. I do a lot of showing how to size and set up guitars to not alter our hands. Okay, fine little motor skills are happening. The hands only have one neutral inline tracking position at that neutral wrist, straight out from the pinky. The hands are essentially the shoulders of the human body, as the feet are essentially the hips. Okay, so I just show how to set guitars up truly the only way you can without altering the human body. And I actually did that. I made another video showing that in depth. It's an hour long. Okay, like an hour and 2 minutes. A couple days ago, titled "The Only Way to Set Up a Guitar for the Human Body." So if you can find that, or regardless, there's always going to be some video out there under In the Image Clothing Company music for you to be able to see how we do it, really. And you'll never have to massage out your hands because they're just designed to go in and out. So as long as we set up what we're using them for to do this motion, just inline tracking, the only thing the human hand could ever do, okay, then we're fine. It's nuts. It's cool. It's liberating. It's awesome. You don't need to work out. You just gotta let your body work, truly. It's so cool because it's as real as it gets. Don't believe it. Don't believe it, but it's the truth, okay? In the Image Clothing Company music. So that's what I was showing a little bit here with the saddle on Red the guitar, how it's nice and even from side to side, the height of it. And yeah, right. I just show how to do it. Those of you in video plus audio, I showed straight down the neck of Red the guitar here. Everything is just nice and even. Yeah. There you go. The strings might not be sitting exactly evenly spaced across the saddle because when I put them on, they just haven't kind of like fallen into their place yet. I'm using a plastic saddle. It's just what came on this guitar. And the strings kind of like indent into it and kind of get stuck sometimes rather than just being exactly in line. Anyway, I'm giving some context. I'm kind of just talking about it thorough just so you know I know what I'm talking about so that you listen to it, not for my sake, because it's true. So In The Image Clothing Company Poodles is another one of our forwards, and we specialize in purebred standard poodles. But if you have a poodle mix, okay, you can bring them to poodle parade events here in the state of Utah. That's a big thing we'll talk about within this episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, like I was saying. Yeah, poodle parade events, okay? A lot of them will be awesome. Some of them might be even better. Some might be a little rough. Yeah, anyway, there's so much beautiful nature in Utah, and that's what they're for, is getting dogs in nature, us as human beings as well. You know, some of us just don't really get out, and a lot of times, even if we just love nature, there's people that are like, I kind of need like a reason to go on like a hike, or maybe I won't do it. Some people might be thinking often, well, if you have a cute little dog that's a poodle or a poodle mix, purebred or a mutt, right? I don't mean to be mean, but a mutt is a mutt. I mean that, and we stand on that because one of the things we do is advocate for proper breeding and registering dogs and purebred dogs under In The Image Clothing Company poodles. But there's cute dogs out there still that are mixes. Golden doodles, labradoodles, bernedoodles, Yorkie poos, yeah, Maltipoos. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of mixes of poodles, and bring them, okay? Poodle parade events. I just want to make it clear, and I have since the launch, I guess, of poodle parade events, since I first announced them. Yeah, you can bring poodle mixes. But we might say some things that might seem offensive to you, when we talk about the importance of purebred poodles, and then you've brought your mix to an event. That's fine, but there is reasons to purebred dogs, and we talk about that in ways that we're not having opinions, but it's for the health of the dog, it's for behavioral issues, or ideally no issues, right? That's the point. So there's a lot to it, but yeah, so we do a lot under In The Image Clothing Company poodles. Letting dogs stay natural is the goal for that fourth of the company. So yeah, on InTheImageClothingCompany.com, that's where you'll find human being clothing and dog products. Not even just products that are specifically only for poodles, because if it's like a collar, a leash, a harness, you can use it for any dog. And all the products that we get into, the whole point is, letting dogs stay natural, light, minimal, balanced, weight-wise, fitting, centered, and correct on the dogs. Same thing with the human being clothing. I mean, that's the only reason we'd ever have products, really. I mean, other than that's where our income will come from to be able to continue to run the company, monetary value-wise. But that's what we do. That's the whole point of clothing, is the human body. The whole point of any dog product we'd ever sell is for the health of the dogs, okay? Yeah, so whatever we branch into, hint, hint, wink, wink, right? When it comes to what we do sell for dogs under In The Image Clothing Company, it's always going to be very intentional and purposeful and natural. That's the goal, okay? So there you go. There's a little bit of a rundown of a lot of what we do. So clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location, and has had to since the beginning of time. At least since the beginning of the first human being, Adam. Yeah, truly. Pants have to be entirely above the hips, just so there's no restriction to the hips. Slightly higher in the front than in the rear for the waistband angle, just because that's the only position that our hips will naturally sit in. Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the human body. There's just a neutral position to every joint. The pelvis has to be a little bit like posterior. By a little bit posterior, I just mean the pant waistline cannot fall any lower in the front. Otherwise, it deactivates your core. It deactivates the arches in your feet. It deactivates your upper body. Your shoulders fall forward. Your jaw falls forward. Your spine curves. Your pelvis goes anterior is the point. Just following the waistband. And your hamstrings deactivate and your quadriceps take over instead. Yeah, okay. Tops that we wear. Yeah. The way I said that was silly, because I say it in just about every intro. I make a point of trying to, at least under In The Image Clothing Company podcast, where clothing sits is what I mean. And yeah, the tops have seams on top of our shoulders. They need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Button-ups naturally just sit back there because there's a band of material, and one of those ends of the band is just way behind the shoulders, okay? The other one can be even in front of the shoulders, but the whole band sits behind the shoulders. And singular seams, we just can't have a collar seam. The dreaded collar seam under In the Image Clothing Company. Look it up. Our modification for it. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Yeah. We need our shoulder seams to be even, or our shoulders will be uneven, and there's just two sides to the body, okay? So, there you go. The edge seams of our tops should just be as close to the edges of our shoulders as we can get, right at that joint, just because that's where it functions, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to be able to function naturally if the seam's not in the location where the joint is at, okay? Because seams are just joints of material. The sleeve material and the body material of the top. That's all a seam is a joint. And all the shoulder is a joint. So they just need to be at the same location. I didn't know these things till I was like 24 years old, man. I was wearing oversized clothing basically all my life. Yeah, like a couple sizes oversized, and my body was so damaged. Clothing's the only fix to human beings' physical problems. It's the only thing physically placed directly on us, okay? Two things we have as prerequisites under the Image Clothing Company. We're putting ropes across our feet in a weave. When we put shoelaces in shoes, there's only one way to weave a rope across the top of the human feet and not alter all the mechanics of what's going on in the feet. The weave in itself reacts with itself in a certain way, and then it also just shapes the volume of inside the shoe a certain way. And yeah, so In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is what we title that. The only way you can actually do it and not alter the feet. And then we tie shoes, right? You just have to keep them on. We tie shoes evenly over toward the center line of the human being on both feet. Then you have even rotations traveling to the tip of your head and the tips of your fingers from your feet. Yeah, the human body can only ever work activated as a whole. Anywhere any of it goes, all of it comes. And the feet are essentially the hips, and the hips are connected to the shoulders with the spine, and then the shoulders are essentially the hands. Yeah, right? The body only works how it does, bro. It's all together, right? We're all in this together. Shout out to High School Musical, Disney. Wow. Shoot, dude, it's cool. I like this. But the point is, the second prerequisite is removing all tags. They're only decades old as of today's date. They didn't even exist. They're just causing a physical gap in clothing. I mean, you've got this nice material against your body. Let's say it's 100% cotton, which is ideal, truly. Yeah, 100% natural materials, right? That's what I try to wear is 100% cotton and everything that I can. And then, in there, you've just got this tag just sticking out against your body. And it'll also just not allow musculature to activate because it's just something in the way. It's like there's something stuck inside your clothing, because there is in the case of a tag. So even within shoes, we remove them, at least get a lot of texture to them. If you don't want to try to get the tag all the way off of the shoe tongue, which is often where they're placed at this time, because sometimes it can actually really damage the shoe tongue. Just, get a lot of texture to them. Put little slits into them with a knife or scissors or something. That's what I've done. Okay, there you go. Utah, bro. Episode 143 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. The thing with the state of Utah that I want to talk about for sure in this is, like I was saying, the beauty. And I've said this, because I've announced Poodle Parade events. I've talked about them a lot. On In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, I've made a video titled Poodle Parade Events in Utah's Beauty. And I was sitting on this beautiful little dirt trail, and there's greenery on the sides of me that's like about shoulder height when I'm sitting on the ground. And yeah, I was right next to a river. I just was sitting there just discussing a lot of, what landscape there is in Utah, what it looks like here. The thing is, we're on the Midwest part of the United States of America's continent, okay? And the Rocky Mountain Range, okay, runs through Utah. We have mountains all over in Utah. We have valleys that are surrounded by mountains. And when I say we have mountains, I don't mean we have hills. I mean we have big mountains. They're big. They're really big. Mount Timpanogos, I'm pretty sure, is the tallest mountain in Utah. And it's only about like 20, 30 miles from my current location where I'm sitting on the floor of this bedroom. Yeah, here in Utah County is where I've lived my whole life, actually. There are big mountains. They're surrounding us on all sides. And in the middle, there's a big lake, Utah Lake. And then up, north about almost an hour, give or take, driving in a car, about 40 minutes to an hour, give or take, 50 minutes probably north. There's a big old lake we call the Great Salt Lake. It's a salt lake in Salt Lake City, Utah, meaning Salt Lake City is up there by it. Just like Utah Lake is in Utah, it's surrounded by a lot of towns because it's a pretty big lake. Okay, Salt Lake is what we call it, but yeah, the Great Salt Lake. Um, Salt Lake City's up there, but there's a lot of towns and cities surrounding the lake. Now, Utah doesn't have very many cities, okay? We have Salt Lake City, which is our state's capital city, but it's not very big. Those of you from places that have cities, Salt Lake City, Utah, you might look at it like that's a baby city. Like that's very small. And I'm grateful for that because I'm a little nature boy at heart. That's who I am. I love nature, and that's, the goal is natural. Our Poodle Parade events will be in nature, outside, right? Unless there's one that's somewhere else for like a specific reason, right? But that's the majority of them. That's the point, is to get people and dogs into nature, and a lot of things that I've discussed we'll do and we'll continue to discuss, and yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll be really cool. A lot of things for the environment. Yeah, like picking up trash, right? Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events. But, Utah, it's got these big mountains. It's got a couple big lakes. It's got a lot of lakes, just smaller lakes up in the mountains. So many canyons because there's just mountains, and anywhere that a river runs down a mountain, it'll just eventually wear away into a canyon. That's how canyons are made, for those of you who might not know. Okay, that's how it works. The water just slowly, over time, takes little pieces of rock down with it and creates a big old channel that we then call a canyon. Then they put roads through them, and there's campgrounds all over the place. But Utah's not just mountains, and it's not just lakes, but it's actually a desert, the whole state. But not only is it a desert, in the wintertime we get snow, sometimes many feet deep. Our license plates have said the greatest snow on earth for quite a while. That's just what they say. A lot of skiing though, right? You've got snow and you've got mountains, and so you've got skiers, you've got snowboarders, and you've got pine forests and you've got aspen forests. There's beautiful prairies and just plains, up in the mountains in places. There's expanses of big open desert for miles and miles. Hot, scorching, 90-degree plus, up to like 100, 110 degrees Fahrenheit summers, right? Right now it's July 6th, 2025. It's been in the 90-degree Fahrenheit range for the past couple weeks, at least 2 or 3 weeks. That's normal for July, August, give or take, in Utah. But yeah, there are miles and miles of just expansive open desert. You've got, we call them tumbleweeds, right? Those weeds that they grow and they're just really dry and they just blow around, and so their seeds blow to other places to grow more of them. It's just picture just an open desert. Just dirt, some dry weeds, the occasional plant, maybe a tree somewhere, and a lot of just, brush, like knee-high sagebrush, and those tumbleweeds are a big thing, man. just picture that, like a desert scene, That's a big, 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 big portion of what Utah is. Yeah. And there's a lot though, man, because we also have places. That's what's so weird about Utah is, I don't just mean like there's some really beautiful places here in very specific parts of Utah. The whole state is unreal. It's crazy. Like what I'm discussing here, like the land, it's so crazy. It's nuts because we have red rock, like sandstone, slick rock is what we call it. Because I used to do a lot of mountain biking. And so, you go on slick rock mountain bike trails, and they're not slippery because it's like sandpaper. That's why they call it sandstone. It's just like you take sand and put glue into it, essentially, right? Just like pack a bunch of sand together and just, it's hardened. it's actually extremely grippy. But there's like natural arches made out of the sandstone. Natural. I mean, it just happens through like weather and erosion, with water and wind. Seriously, it's nuts. And there's national parks here in Utah all over the place. Oh my goodness. I don't even know which places are national parks versus which places are just beautiful public places that you can come to and explore and have a good time at. And some of the times they do charge you, right? Because it is a place that they, upkeep, and it's like protected land, right? So that it stays nice. But yeah, I mean, this slick rock stuff, like St. George, Utah area, you can look up if you just don't know and you'd like to know what it looks like or what to, expect, I guess, because we'll have poodle parade events where we do, man. Um, I don't know for sure every location we're going to have them at yet, right? I mean, there's just so many areas we could do them at, because a big thing is any national park that allows dogs, I can just schedule with the people like, hey, my name's Evan Strong. I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We have this whole thing that we do a fourth of our company with poodles. And well, actually all four sides of our company, we incorporate poodles where we do, but we do these things called poodle parade events. Is it okay if we just have as many people want to come, bring their poodles and poodle mixes and come to your park? And, what do we need to know for that? And then like, we'll tell you guys, right, when I'm, scheduling all the poodle parade events, like I say, everything that you need to bring, everything that's, not allowed to bring. If it is something like a national park, it'll probably be something you have to pay for to just get into the place, right? Yeah, just the protected land is really what I mean by the place. Right, so there's a lot of beautiful stuff in Utah, but there's marshes and, swamp areas. It really is nuts how diverse Utah is. And then there's wildlife, there's birds, there's venomous snakes, reptiles. There are black bears where there are lots of deer, moose, elk, white-tailed deer is what we have. Wow. Lots of fish in the water that we have, all the rivers and the lakes. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff here, skunks, raccoons, bobcats, pumas, also known as mountain lions. Not so commonly seen, right? They're sneaky predators up in the mountains. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff here in Utah. Coyotes. Yeah. It's really crazy awesome is how I just worded it. I love Utah so much. Today in church, because it's Sunday, in the class that I was in, it was just the Sunday school class, the teacher, she did something where she said, all right, let's go around, everybody say your name, and if there was a location on the earth that you could just have like a free ticket to, where would you go? And when it came to me, I said, hi, I'm Evan, and I said, I like Utah. I don't really know where else I'd go. And I love Utah, man. I remember, not that it was all that long ago, but I'll say it like this. I've told the story of when I voluntarily removed my records from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was about 13 months, and then I got rebaptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in, I think it was February of this year. The second time around is the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast where I told the story of my rebaptism. And, I was talking about moving to California, bro, while I was not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that in itself is a testimony to what it really means to be baptized and to be given the gift of the Holy Ghost of Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit of our living God, to dwell with you. That's confirmed upon you, at the same time of baptism within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, when we get baptized into the body of Jesus Christ, into his restored church. And while I was not a member within this 13-month period of hell, truly, I was planning to move to Los Angeles, California. It's a big city. I don't like cities. I do love Utah, right? So yeah, I was so certain I was going to do it, but it didn't feel right, but it felt right, and I felt disgusting. There's so much going on in that time, and so that in itself, that's just a testimony to what it really does do to be baptized. It's not just a thing that's like, some kind of outward like expression thing you're doing because you're part of something. It's a real true direct commitment to the one and only true living God, to take his name upon you and, do all that you can to always remember him. Man, yeah, and then that's what we do on Sundays when we take sacrament, is we renew our covenants, like the baptismal covenant, where we did what I just said, promise to do all that we can. We're sinful by nature. We're not perfect. We never will be in this life. But to try to take the name of Jesus Christ upon us, meaning, act like him, follow him, learn about him, strive to be like him, and also, preach about him, our God himself, Jesus the Christ. So anyway, that's just a little side note on, I love Utah, and I always have, man. I've always loved, moose, and man, when I was little, I loved moose. They were my favorite animal when I was a little kid. But yeah, just, I love wildlife. I love the mountains so much. It's funny, I looked up like this as I said it. There's a little tree in this room. It's a fake pine tree. I love trees. I love the earth so much, just so much. And so the reason I'm saying that, you don't really have to care about what I like or not. You don't. But Utah is that. Utah is so natural. And it is. And I'll say this, Utah, like I said, it's the place where the Mormon pioneers, okay? Pioneers, yeah, pioneer just means the person who has gone before, who has gone first in something. Like, in a sense, I am the pioneer of In The Image Clothing Company by being the founder, okay? Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. But in Utah, we think, when we hear pioneers, we think about what was formerly called the Mormon pioneers. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints used to just be called the Mormon Church. But it got changed because the whole point of having our church organized as it is to worship God as he is, Jesus Christ. And so now his name is actually in our church, which is great. Yes, that's wonderful. So, yeah, Mormon was a prophet. He was somebody who, yeah, did a lot to help with things. I don't want to try to like explain it all as it is right now. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we read the Book of Mormon. But Mormon is just one of the people of the many who's discussed in the Book of Mormon, and who plays a role in what the church is and how it came to be. But the church is about God. The church is about Jesus Christ. So yeah, when the formerly called Mormons, but yeah, the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they came from the East, over New York area, yeah, Massachusetts. I don't know for sure exactly all the places of where, but yeah, the church was established over on that side of the country of the United States of America, that side of the continent, okay? Our country is actually from sea to sea. That's, from sea to shining sea. I don't know how the tune goes. I was smiling while I said it, and I don't even know how it goes, but our continent is also, the borders of our country from east to west, right? From California to like New York, yeah, and Florida. Those are a couple states on the opposite end of the United States of America, over on the east coast. So, yeah, Utah is only a couple states away from the west coast. They're just Nevada and California, a couple states between us and the sea, the ocean. Yeah, the Pacific Ocean. I think it's like a geography test now, bro, for me. Anyway, I like this. This is cool to explain. But yeah, these pioneers, they traveled across the whole country, dude, which is a whole continent. It's a pretty good distance to travel. This was, hundreds of years ago. They had hand carts, dude. Just like two wheels on the side of a wooden box with poles coming out to pull from, is basically what the hand carts were, dude. We've seen a lot of, them. I don't know if they actually have any still left from when they came, but definitely replicas for sure. If maybe only that, but yeah, I mean, people came and they settled in Utah. So the Salt Lake City, Utah, is where they actually founded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yikes, that's not quite true. No, but that's where we settled into, I guess is how we'll say it. Yeah, because they had the church running back over on the East Coast. But then they came across, and so yeah, Salt Lake City, it's like the hub, if you will, of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's where the church office buildings are. That's where um the Salt Lake Temple is, man, which is beautiful. Yeah. A lot of beautiful stuff happens in Salt Lake City. Truly, spiritual stuff, just stuff to get you closer to God. When we have general conference within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints bi-yearly, meaning every 6 months, that's where they do it, is up at the conference center in Salt Lake City, and then they broadcast it throughout the whole earth, okay? We've got the internet nowadays. You can watch it on there, watch it on TV. You can listen to it, right? Just an audio only, like in the Image Clothing Company podcast, available in video plus audio and audio only. Yeah, but Utah's cool, man. I love Utah so much. So anyway, it's really great because it's a place for basically everybody. I mean, you kind of have no say of it being pretty darn cold in the winters, commonly staying around 0 degrees Fahrenheit for a good amount of time during the winter. And then, like I was saying, staying around 100 degrees Fahrenheit for a good amount of time during the summer, which is nuts. I mean, that's like 100-degree Fahrenheit fluctuation from summer to winter. That's crazy to me, and there's, parts of the earth that are like that, but some parts of the earth basically stay, pretty much the same temperature year round. But that's just how it works, dude. So Utah's really great. It's really awesome. And so, I've talked about it, dude, poodles and just how big that's going to be for the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, and so that's a really big thing of why I talk about the geography, the biology, the wildlife as well of Utah is for the sake of context on Poodle Parade events. If you've never been to Utah or whatever, dude, now you know a little bit about it, at least from what I've said in here only, right? And I don't really expect people to be like traveling from all over the place to come to the Image Clothing Company's Poodle Parade events by any means. But maybe you will, we might have people coming from all across the country, even from out of country. I don't know. I mean, don't like think that you need to come for us, but if you want to come from wherever, then cool. I think I'm not trying to make this out to be like some huge thing that you should expect and like prepare years for. Like, that's what I mean is, if it's only people from Utah that ever come, then great. But yeah, if there are people that come and maybe even people from far away, right, then cool. Now, regardless, this will be an episode of the Image Clothing Company podcast that we can refer people to when maybe they are coming from out of Utah and they're like, I wonder, what is Utah really like? Evan Strong, the founder of the Image Clothing Company, lives there. He talks it up, That's where they have Poodle Parade events, and maybe you're like looking through the internet and you're seeing like videos and photos of past Poodle Parade events. You're like, man, there's some beautiful scenery here. Utah, man, maybe we should go to one of these one time, a Poodle Parade event under the Image Clothing Company, and yeah, right, yeah, cool. So yeah, so there you go. Is what I mean. Is those reasons are some of the big ones why this episode's beautiful to have. But yeah, there are a lot of things to prepare for if you do come for any reason to Utah. Okay, Poodle Parade events, though, is a big one. I'm pushing and pushing and pushing the publication of Poodle Parade events. Yeah, because you'll just see, dude, how big it is and why I keep talking about it so much before they ever happen. Okay, you'll see. You will see. I will see as well. But yeah, you'll see. But that's what I mean is, there are venomous snakes, there's poisonous spiders, uh, right? Poisonous plants that dogs shouldn't be chewing on. Some dogs are just kind of like recklessly chewing on things all the time. Some dogs' personalities, they just put stuff in their mouth. Kind of like babies. Some babies, they're like always eating something. Yeah, there's some plants that could really, make your dog very sick, even kill your dogs, truly. I mean, there's some stuff to watch out for sure. Just like anywhere. I think I'm gonna say this. I think most of the world is like afraid of Australia because Australia, you see these massive snakes, and they're always talking about the venomous snakes and these huge spiders, and all this terrible like terrain is how it's like gets worded often. But those people who live in Australia, they're like, I mean, it's just where we live. Yeah, you got to be, diligent and watch out. But I mean, people wouldn't live there if it wasn't inhabitable, right? And so I think that's how it is with Utah. Is I get talking about it and I start to realize like, shoot, yeah, it's a pretty extreme place. It's a land of extremes. Like I'm saying, temperature wise, and the wildlife and the diversity of all that it is. It is very diverse. Even in the people, there's people from all over the place that come to Utah for a lot of these reasons as well. That is a lot of the reason as to why people travel here and like migrate here, if you will. Yeah. We've got black people. Oh gosh, we've got white people. There's some Indian people here. There's some Native American people who sometimes don't like to be called Indians, but used to be called that, right? There's, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's all sorts of people here too. It is a very diverse place. So that's cool to say this as well. I love that. I love wording it like that. Like, am I being racist? Right? Like, how many eggshells can I walk on before I just crack some? Because, we should be able to say stuff without people thinking we're trying to be mean. Right? Oh, gosh. But yeah, no, we really do. And yeah, there's just a lot of diversity here in Utah. It's really great. Seriously. Because it's really crazy. You can be on a mountain 1 minute and then drive like 20 miles and all of a sudden you're just in like this big old open plain of a desert. Like, it really is just so diverse. So I love Utah. Bottom line, I think that's just the biggest point of this and what I'm saying. And I'm sorry, not that I have to apologize to any human being for this by any means, but like I've repented about it and I want to just publicly say it so people are aware of like where my heart is and learning from my mistakes. I removed my records from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and all of a sudden I wanted to remove myself from the state that I love and go to a big city, and I don't want to ever be in big cities. It's just crazy, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, you're gifted the gift of God's Spirit to dwell with you at all times. The Spirit of God, the Spirit of the Holy, right? It's a third of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit of Jesus Christ, of our God. It tells you all things what you should do, right? It tells you where to go, where to not go. It gives you that still small voice and that feeling inside of you to decipher and determine and discern from right and wrong, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but that's what I did when I took my records out of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's like I removed my baptism, right? Because it's essentially like I went back on my promise to God. Because that's what we do when we get baptized, is we're promising God to, again, try. We're never going to be perfect in this life, but to try to always remember him and do all that it means to take his name upon us, right? Which there's a lot that comes with that. Truly, I mean, there is. It's a tall order, man. A perfect God, the one and only, and then just being, his children, kids, just trying to live up to that. I mean, we're not going to, and we're not supposed to in this life, but we're supposed to try, When I say we're not supposed to, we're not supposed to be able to. I mean, we're just not going to be able to. So anyway, Utah's awesome, dude. And yeah, I guess that's, pretty much what I'm going to say. So when we have our actual brick and mortar building, just meaning our actual building, okay, I said it in, well, places that I've said it multiple times, but I talked about it a little bit in the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Fine Wine. I don't know if that was the last one I filmed or the one before, somewhere right around there, yeah, 140s range. Um, yeah. Anyway, in the Image Clothing Company podcast, the episode was titled Fine Wine. I talked about it, and yeah, I just want to make things clear, we will have an actual proper building in the Image Clothing Company. We're not going to have, people come and, shop there like you go to like a clothing store. But, our team will be there and we'll be shipping things out from there. And we'll have the poodles in there and it'll be a very, homey place for the team. We'll do a lot of video from there. We just do and always will do so much under what I call the gift of video when it comes to In the Image Clothing Company. So you'll be able to see it and what it's like, but it's not really a place that you'll be coming to as like just people, right? Like customers of In the Image Clothing Company or anything. It's just for the team and us to run the company that we do at. Okay. But that will be in the state of Utah. Again, not that people will be coming to it, but just I guess for context, like it's kind of like how I say poodles, all the purebred standard poodles that we will have, because that's what we have under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We specialize in them, and we breed them, and all the things that we will always do with poodles. They're just as much team members of In the Image Clothing Company as the actual human being employees, or even as much as me, the founder, right? Evan Strong. Same with Utah. In a sense, Utah is just as much, In the Image Clothing Company as anything else that is. Like, yeah, I just want to make it clear. I'm staying here, okay? For the life of Evan Strong, In the Image Clothing Company is mine, if you will, right? There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled In the Image Clothing Company and Evan Strong Are One. This is my lifelong endeavor, and regardless of who takes over this after I die, or if nobody does, okay, I'm staying in Utah for my whole life. And so, yeah, there's your context on Utah that I've given here, okay, in this episode. It's awesome. It really is. It's awesome. And it really is. People talk about Utah like it has this like bubble. And I'll say it like this. It's not a bad thing. Because people talk about it as the Utah bubble. It's like a little safety bubble from the rest of the world. Because, at least close to and probably the majority of citizens of Utah, the state, in the United States of America, are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so people come here from places that are like a little bit rough, and they're like, wow, you guys are in such a like cute little bubble here. And sometimes they're a little bit judgmental, but well, the way that people describe what Utah's bubble is like a loving place that's kind of protected from the outside world. And who wouldn't want to be in a loving place, right? Utah, to a degree, does have that kind of like bubble feel. As far as like just picture this like force field over Utah, right? And the rest of the world almost doesn't exist when you're inside of Utah. And it's like pretty similar no matter where you go here as far as like culture. Well, as disciples of God, the one and only, Jesus Christ, we're commanded to stand in holy places and be not moved. Jesus Christ, he tells us he'll surround us on all sides. He goes before us and takes up our rearward, right? He's our comforter, he's our shepherd, and we're his sheep. He's our teacher, and we're his followers. He's our protector, right? Even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't need to fear any evil because God himself, Jesus Christ's staff and rod will comfort us, right? Like a shepherd with a staff, he'll ward off, like the wolves from attacking his sheep. So all these things sound pretty darn good, don't they? I don't know any human on the earth that was in their right mind that would ever want to not be in a loving bubble, right? And so that's why it's strange, right? Just like picture soldiers surrounding you and you're safe, right? Yeah, numberless concords of angels surrounding us on all sides, right? I mean, Jesus Christ himself just watching over us, protecting us, his spirit dwelling with us, comforting us, keeping us safe, as long as we're doing what we can to follow his will and his word and serve him as he says that he is, not what anybody else says that he is or who anybody else says that he is. I started this by saying, who is it that ye say that I am? I said something about playing guitar. Like, I am who I am, you are who you are. Anybody can say anything about us, and Jesus Christ is who he says that he is. Utah is what it is. Come check it out. For those of you who've, heard something about Utah, it might not be true. It might have been somebody's opinion of what it really is, not what it really is, right? Just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You've heard something from somebody else that might have said something to someone else one time because they saw some book about a movie they wrote and they watched a right. I just want to make it weird because get stuff from the source, otherwise you're getting secondhand smoke. Oh shoot, that's nuts. Yeah, it's as real as it gets. I mean, things are just what they are. So Utah's beautiful, and I've been thinking about making a podcast episode on secondhand smoke because I got a lot of secondhand smoke growing up from my dad's girlfriend's family, my dad's girlfriend herself. Holy heavens, that's a whole thing in itself. I just thought about that. I was thinking about that today. I've been thinking about it recently. That's essentially what that is, though. Like secondhand information. It's like it's not true. Probably go to the source, right? Things are only what they are. So, people talk about Utah in this way, that way, and whatever. They might have heard of like the Mormons, and maybe they just heard something negative about them because somebody had an opinion about something to do with what was formerly called Mormonism, right? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A lot of polygamy happened in the past, and that's not something that we do anymore. Okay. Right? I mean, there's stuff like that. People hear stuff, but I mean, yeah. Yeah, right. That's big. Utah, it's the central place for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so any opinion you have on what that is, please don't, okay? Believe it or not, don't is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. So who's really right then is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. It's what I'm saying here. Truth is truth. Things are just what they are. And if you listen to his opinion on it and you listen to her opinion on it, they might be exactly opposing opinions. And whose do you believe? Well, neither one. What's the thing they're talking about? Because it is what it is, right? God is who God is. He's the great I am. He is who he says that he is, not who anybody else says that he is. Utah is what it is, not what you or he or she or them or that other thing that claimed to be something else thought they could have an opinion on that was valid. All right. That's why I said earlier, like, it doesn't matter what I say. You don't need to care about what I care about or what I think is cool or whatever I said. I remember saying something like that in this. Yeah, I say it so often under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Don't believe me, right? Whatever I say ever. But I'm just giving context on things as they are to the best of what I can do. So, with that being said, I just know there's a lot of negative talk out there and false information to the only truth of what Utah really is, and yeah, there's a lot of persecution to things that people just don't like for whatever reason they don't like them, and God himself in the flesh, Jesus Christ, is and always has been and always will be persecuted by the world more than anything or anyone else ever could be, right? So when his restored true church is in the state of Utah, the United States of America, there's going to be a lot of talk coming on what people claim that the state of Utah is. And what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that's, like I've been saying, centered in the state of Utah is, right? So anyway, if you ever got a problem with us, as in the Image Clothing Company, saying anything about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, well, that's on you. It's your fault. I mean, that's what our name is. In the Image Clothing Company, we're designed in the image of Jesus Christ. So, if you ever have a problem with it, thinking like we've just like randomly started talking about church or religion or whatever you want to say, no, we're just talking about the truth of all things. Actually, that applies to every human ever to live, no matter where you're from or what you've done. And it's perfect love because it's the perfect one and only God, the creator of all things, the truth of all things. So Utah's a special place. I love it. Yeah, I was about to move to California when I was out of my mind because I was not in the place I should be. I word the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints like that often. It's the place to be. Out of all the places you could ever be, dwelling in the presence of God is where we need to be. And this is his true restored church. Don't believe me, but taste and see, and you'll find out, right? As it says in Scripture. So, anyway, Utah's awesome. The poodles will love it. Your dogs will love it if you've got the dogs I said, right? The dogs that we allow at Poodle Parade events, the only dogs, really. Purebred poodles of any size or poodle mixes of any size. Dogs love nature. Human beings love nature too. Sometimes we, get a little bit of an accustomed taste to city life. We don't actually like it. We kind of convince ourselves that we do, but we're designed to be on the earth, and upon the earth we build, the world, man-made things, but it always crumbles down. It always comes back to earth, nature, right? So we'll do so much through nature, and you'll see it just in our designs and clothing. It's natural, right? I mean, we use natural materials. The whole point is to stay centered and fit correct, to let the body work naturally. Our dog products will do all that we can to keep them natural materials and letting the dogs stay natural. The slogan for In the Image Clothing Company poodles is that, right? Letting dogs stay natural. So, yeah, that's just, what In the Image Clothing Company is a very nature-based company. Okay, that's the goal. The goal is natural for all four sides of us here in the Image Clothing Company. And so with that, Utah is such a beautiful place to be. It's just the place that I was placed on this earth, right? And God doesn't make mistakes, regardless of how much we think sometimes he has, in whatever ways that comes, because sometimes we think that. I know sometimes I have in the past, okay? But he doesn't. He's perfect. And yeah, we'll never run out of just, oh my gosh, beautiful things to do in Utah's nature here, under just whatever events we get into, whatever we, as in the Image Clothing Company, be a part of when it comes to other people's things that we involve ourselves in as a company. Utah is just, it's such an amazing place to be. Any company that we collaborate with, yeah. I mean, it's like this discussion's getting more expensive than just Utah. I just want to make it so clear, the spirit that you can feel here in Utah, through the people. Yeah, I mean, it's full of people who have made covenants to God. Yeah, through the nature, the beauty, the diversity in all the ways that it's diverse here. Yeah, okay. So Utah. Anyway, today's the 6th of July, 2025. I'm 26 years old now, dude. I'm still a kid. New strings there on Red the guitar. That's great. Stick around for the poodles. Stick around for Poodle Parade events. I wouldn't be talking it up as much as I am if it's not going to be huge. Always and continually, just being what it is. It's cool, dude. Poodles, purebred standard poodles. That's what we specialize in. Okay, so big dogs, brother. Big dogs. That's what we'll have. Okay. Big dogs. So, yeah, a lot will come in this beautiful state under In the Image Clothing Company, the state of Utah, the United States of America. Yeah, okay. So there you go. A lot of beautiful stuff. Yeah, a lot of beautiful stuff, okay. I'm just going to kind of sit on it for a second because, yeah, it's a gift, this earth. So we really will do a lot for the environment, like I'm saying. A lot of what we advocate for is stuff like that, not littering, picking up your own trash, using things that are natural materials to begin with, so we're not having so much excess, like disposable water bottles and, plastic packaging. Okay, so a lot of what we will do here in the state of Utah will be for the state of Utah as well. Okay, those things. You'll see. But I'm just giving context so that when it comes, I've been planning it before it happened. Because I have. Oh, it's going to be great. Things aren't going to happen willy-nilly or haphazardly or just out of nowhere. Under In the Image Clothing Company, stuff that happens and it's like, oh wow, that seems fitting for what they do. It's like, yeah, we've been planning this stuff for a while. I've been talking about it before it happened so that when it does happen, we've got a basis of how it's going to be and always stay. Oh, that's humbling as can be. Yeah. When I say we're going to be a big name in poodles, when I say poodles are just as much team members as the human being team members, a lot of what the poodles will help with is the environment of our beautiful state here. The state of Utah. Okay. You'll see, and you'll see. Okay. Shoot. You'll see. So thank you. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. 6th of July, 2025 is today's date. Stick around for the poodles. Stick around. You will not be disappointed. Don't believe me. Don't have expectations that you shouldn't. But expect big things from us. Truly. But the things that we're talking about that we will do, because I'm only saying them because they're going to happen. Good things take time. A lot of what we will do will be a testimony of and for God as He is, because I can't do these things on my own. I don't even know what I'm doing a lot of the time. But God's strength shines forth in our weakness, and we can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth us. Okay. So, yeah, big dogs, a big name in poodles, big things for the environment. Don't say I didn't tell you about it before it happened. And when things happen, don't wonder, how does this just randomly happen? How do they just randomly take off as a company? How come they're just doing so good all of a sudden? This kid just came out of nowhere. Not really. I've been doing what's needed behind the scenes, meaning just, without doing it for show. And before it happens, I've been putting in the work. Okay, do more, say less. An episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I've been doing that. I'm not expecting praise or recognition, but I just want to make it clear. Yeah. We're here for the long haul. I'm playing the long game. These things I keep saying, they're here to stay. Okay? A big name in poodles, In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Remember it. Yeah. Yeah. And just In the Image Clothing Company for the sake of our everything that we do. Okay, thank you. It's going to be cool. I'm not trying to give, false expectations or shoot for over the top things. And also this might cut for the sake of storage space running out. I kind of feel like maybe. But yeah, what we do is stuff that lasts. I'm looking at this guitar. I'm looking at my pile of dirty clothes over here, my dirty laundry. And I'm thinking about the poodles. Okay. Expect big things from us. Do it. Expect it. In the Image Clothing Company, the state of Utah. Oh shoot, we'll give a lot of awareness of a lot of things, a lot of advocation for a lot of things. We're gonna change the game in a lot of ways because we'll do things that other people have done, but approach it in ways that can last. Eating, standing, sleeping, sitting, walking, hydration, breathing, all the things that we do as a human being, we talk about them, how to do them naturally. Same thing with dogs as well. Remember it, all right? Because it's kind of like that thing, like don't say I didn't tell you type of thing, you know? Or yeah, I mean, just don't overlook us as a company. The only reason we're here is to do big things that'll last. And this is where it's starting, is me sitting on the floor of a bedroom. Yeah. I have basically nothing right now. And that's intentional, done by God. I got stripped from basically everything, all my money, you know, basically all my possessions, besides what's in this room here, and there's not much. You know, my vehicle that I had, a lot, has been stripped, kind of as a clean slate, because I needed to grow and improve and change. And yeah, I've been thinking about that song. I don't know whose song it is for sure, but it's in the movie Brother Bear by Disney. It's, you know, tell everybody I'm on my way. New places, new people to see. Yeah, I've been thinking about that song a lot. I'm not going anywhere as far as physically. We're staying in the state of Utah. But where we're going, as in the Image Clothing Company, for the sake of helping people, poodles, furthering the kingdom of God, allowing people's bodies to work through clothing, making awesome music, having a lot of collaboratory things with other people that are doing good things, having beautiful events that people can come and congregate together with, if you will. Yeah. Okay. Expect it, bro. I'm not gonna just be sitting on the floor of a living room or a bedroom or in the back of a minivan or on the grass outside like I have been filming episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Things will become what they need to when they need to. I'll say it like that. Okay. It's not always going to look like this, as I've said, but I'm so grateful that it has started this way. Yeah. It's not about me by any means, but it's cool to be able to see what is able to happen through me. You know, in as much as you keep my commandments, you will prosper in the land. Like I'm saying, I wasn't keeping God's commandments and I almost went to California, bro. I'm not mocking California. There's a lot of beautiful things about California. A lot of people in California that are awesome, right? But it's just, yeah, it's as real as it gets. in my mistakes and in my successes. I'm being used as the example because I'm publicly showing what I do as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Plenty of mistakes to come, just so you know, okay? Yeah. Expect big things though, dude. I talked about not hoping for things, but just having faith that God will take us where he needs us, regardless of what we wish or hope for. And when I say expect big things, I'm not expecting like to get things or whatever. I'm expecting that there's a lot of beautiful work that I'm going to be able to do for God. And it's going to be such a gift to be a part of. Yeah, those darn poodles, man. You just wait. Oh, shoot. A lot of cool music stuff, man. I don't talk about it all that often. I kind of just make music. It just kind of comes out of me. It's not something I normally sit down and like write, and plan for a certain amount of time before I like make like one song or something. So I don't really talk about it. I just kind of do it when I do it. But there will be a lot of really big things too. Yeah. Uh-huh. Through the avenue of In the Image Clothing Company music. Okay, so just expect it. Expect it. And come bring your pitchforks and come after me when it doesn't happen exactly how you thought it was supposed to, right? Like, see what I mean? Just, oh gosh, expect it though. It's gonna be great. So, Little Red the guitar, man. I've come a long way with 21 guitars to get here. I'll see if he's still in tune. Or maybe I'll play something else a little bit. If I run out of storage space, then cool. Yeah. Shoot, dude, my guitars are notoriously out of tune. Undeserving and unexpected. Everything here is just a lesson. Unexpected and undeserving, and everything like the tables turn. We're down on earth, right? We're just on earth, dude. Things are just what they are. And stuff changes, and stuff changes for the better, and stuff changes in ways that shock us, and we don't know how to do stuff with it sometimes. Unexpected and undeserving. Undeserving and unexpected. Everything here is just a lesson. Oh, shoot. I think a big part of what I'm saying right now and why this is kind of how it is at the end, a little bit different than the rest of it, it's not quite flowing quite the same, is because I don't talk about In the Image Clothing Company music much, and I don't play music much as of the past few months here. Yep. Times and places for things. I was thinking today about that scripture. There's a time to tear down, and there's a time to build up. There's a time to kill, and there's a time to heal, right? There's a time to destroy, there's a time to repair, whatever it says in that scripture. I think it's in the Old Testament, right? But that's just how it is. There's a time to not play any guitar, and there's a time to make a lot of beautiful music. Past couple days, there was, moments when I pretty much didn't drink anything at all, but I was like eating food. And then other times when I was just like drinking a lot of liquid. And I thought about it. That's kind of, what brought it up with me today. When I thought about it today, the scripture, because there's just, and I've said it many times in the Image Clothing Company podcast, there's times and places for things. Sometimes we do things that, and other times, we basically should have never done or just would never do, but like they're very needed to happen in certain times. Yeah, a lot of that is what I'm saying, taking hiatuses or like breaks of, from playing guitar or making any music, and then other times just making a lot of music. So right, there's times and places for things. And I think sometimes we get shocked about, the amount of what comes from things in moments that otherwise might have seemed like a dried up thing almost, something like that's kind of a thing of the past, and then you start doing it again, and it's just like flourishing. Yeah, humbling, bro. Right. And it's as I've said many times before, just that's how it is in the gospel of Jesus Christ, meaning just in the truth of all things. When we are following God, a lot of times he will intentionally remove things from our lives that he really wants us to do for our whole lives, but just we need a little bit of a break from it to do other things, to prepare, or to kind of tweak something, or just for the sake of timing. Music, right? At certain points in my life, it's been just about all that I've done. Back when I used to make rap songs and do a lot of lyricism, when I first started playing guitar, and then the past few years with guitar, there's been a lot of points in there when I've done basically nothing but play guitar and, work on guitars for days at a time, weeks, months at a time, right? So, I'm only saying this because I'm prompted to, I'm convicted to. I didn't plan on saying this. Because this isn't necessarily specifically about the state of Utah, right? Right. So, I just played guitar in general. But like I was giving some context on, it was really hard for me to put those strings on the guitar yesterday. I almost broke it. I've broken guitars in the past. I've lost my temper. Had a hard time just kind of doing what I needed to. Things come up, spiritual battles, warfare, as we say. There's an episode of the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Warfare. I give context on that. So. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's been a lot to go through. I don't expect people to cater to nothing at all. That's not why I'm saying it. But I'm saying it to give context on sometimes there's a lot of fluctuation in things and the prevalence of things in our lives at times versus other times. Yeah. Okay. So expect big things through music, especially those of you who hear me sometimes playing stuff that doesn't sound like I know what I'm doing. It'll be just cool to see, because that's the whole point, is not doing stuff for show. There's an episode of the Image Clothing Company podcast titled that. Something about just for show, I think is actually the title. Yeah, I do say I'm a really good guitarist. I don't say it for recognition, and I don't show off by trying to play so good. Sometimes I'm playing and it sounds like I can't, right? But there's a time to build up and a time to break down. And Jack Johnson has a beautiful song called Breakdown. I'm just saying what I'm prompted to when I'm prompted to say it, so. Times and places. Cool. All right. Yeah, I like this. I like what I'm feeling right now. I like the contentment of the outro of this. A lot of times things seem to try to end on a bang, and this is almost fizzling out. And I like that because it's showing the reality of it. I'm getting just kind of humbled, kind of settled into this. Oh shoot, yeah. Talking about big things to come. And then I'm not just gonna turn off the camera and be oh shoot, now I gotta make it happen. It's no, I'm just talking about it. I think that's part of it. I'm making some big claims, talking about some things that'll happen that haven't yet, and yeah, they will. I'm just here still, yeah. I'm not trying to hype up something and then cut it on some big, cliffhanger. That's what I mean. No, I'm just here still, just chilling. I'm just giving information. Yeah. Yeah, dude. And yeah. Little Red the guitar, bro. It doesn't matter what guitar I ever have, right? I just like the poodles. It's yeah. It's not about one specific poodle. It's it's just It's not about them. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled "It's Not About Them." It's about truth. It's about God. Whatever form that comes through, whatever time that is, whatever way that gets displayed to us in our lives. You know, so yeah. Yeah. Not about one specific design under In the Image Clothing Company clothing or any dog products, right? It's not about oh shoot. Yep, it's about God, truly. Uh-huh. Yep. It's not just only about the state of Utah, the United States of America, but it's a beautiful state, right? Uh-huh. I'm looking at this guitar, man, in a way that's like, shoot, bro. This past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, I've looked at guitars like very similar to this. It hasn't been the same guitar either, that's what I mean. And then I made a bunch of cool music right around that time. Yeah, I don't know for sure what's the reason right now, but I'm sure looking at this guitar. So, uh, so stick around. And you know, I made it, I made sure that I had quite a bit of storage space for this episode on this little device that I'm filming it on before I filmed it, because I could tell, like, yeah, I need it for this one, you know. I could just tell this needed to be kind of like a pretty relatively big, packed full discussion on all that it is on. Okay. For the sake of living on forever, not for the sake of some big old thing. You know, people view it so much right when I post it, and then later it's like, oh, forgot about that. Nah, we're doing all that we can here under In the Image Clothing Company to have everything that we do last forever. You know, I mean, not everything will, but I'm just sitting with it, bro. I think he's out of tune pretty bad, but yeah. 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 I like curling the ends up with the strings like this. You have a little slack at the top. I like to curl them up like this. It's cool. Rather than just cutting it off. So, yeah. Uh-huh. Expect it. That's one thing that's funny to say, because, like, don't expect much from me. I'm just a kid, but expect big things from what we're going to be allowed to do through In the Image Clothing Company. I've been saying that, man, and it's not out of me, like, right? I mean, expect it. Expect it. Expect a lot of gospel messages, man, and everything that we do. The gospel of Jesus Christ. I mean, that's a really big thing too. Yeah, because I preach the gospel in a way that's just real, you know, not in a way that you have to feel like you're in a church or some kind of like sermon. And, you know, that's good when that's good, but I preach the gospel in moments and, you know, relating it to and through things. I relate the gospel of Jesus Christ that other people might not really be like thinking, you know, you could even have that become a message of God, but God is all things. That's true, right? I mean, I glory in truth. I glory in my Jesus. I glory, whatever it says there in one of the books of Nephi, in the book of Mormon. There's a beautiful verse that says something like that. Yeah, and Taya, the musician, and I've said this before on In the Image Clothing Company podcast, but she talks about, seeing Jesus Christ in everything, so I preach the gospel anywhere, all wheres, right? People have said many times this didn't come from me direct, like I didn't like make up this quote, and I don't think there's like a specific person that needs to be quoted directly for saying this, but preach the gospel of Jesus Christ in all places, all times, and all ways, and when needed, use words. The gospel is just truth. The gospel is just the pure love and light of Jesus Christ. And so, yeah, we do that, even though we do have a fourth of In the Image Clothing Company, which is this, In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And that's the whole point, is to give messages of the gospel of Jesus Christ here. That's what this is. We wouldn't have to have this to be able to still incorporate messages of God himself, Jesus the Christ, in all things that we do. And so, yeah, if you got a problem with it, like I say, stick around, right? Rather than leaving and running away and, turning your back on it because you don't understand it or you don't agree. It's fine to not agree, but deeper context brings deeper understandings. And a lot of times we have problems with things because we don't know what they are. And we think they're something that they're not. We've got a lot of context, even as of today's date, okay? Under In the Image Clothing Company content, in all that we are, really. I mean, there's a lot already, and it's here to stay, at least for the life of Evan Strong. So stick around if you've got a problem with anything we say or do, or anything we approach in a way that you might not like, any labels we put on things. When I say a mutt is a mutt, right? Realize why, right? Things like that. When I talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ being the truth of all things, it's like, who are you to say? Well, stick around, find out why I say that and how I can, because it is, right? When I say I'm going to be a professional guitarist, stick around, right? When I talk about all the events we will have under In the Image Clothing Company, because we'll do more than just Poodle Parade events in the ways that we will. I mean, most all of our events will have poodles be allowed at them because why not, right? But this is what I mean, is all the events we do, and you'll just see. Stick around, right? Don't you think I'm just claiming things that won't happen? Well, stick around and see if they do. That's what I mean. You got a problem with us? Stick around, right? I mean, you wonder how I'm able to say things that are going to happen before they do? Stick around. Like, stick around, bro. Stick around. People, myself included, just the natural man in me, right? Sinful by nature, but commanded to overcome the natural man is how we are as human beings and be like God, right? Naturally, a lot of us tend to run away from things that we don't understand, that we don't like, that we don't agree with, that we don't want to be what they are, but things are only what they are. Yeah, so stick around, and stick around, Stop running physically, because it does damage your body. And again, stick around. We talked about that in such depth, anatomy-wise, of the human body, that there's no dispute. You just have to see it as it is, and often it's not seen how it really is. Oh, shoot. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Running. But also, yeah, stop running from things, from problems, from worries, from fears. Jesus Christ, he built his church at the gates of hell, which was a terrible place to worship the devil, actually, on the earth. And he built his church there. On this rock I will build my church, the gates of hell, right? We hit rock bottom, and from there you can only go up. Okay, a lot of people have said that as well. That's a beautiful thing, but Jesus Christ is the rock of our salvation on which we build our foundation so that we don't get swept away, so that we can stick around, so that we can be in it for the long haul. Yeah. I love that line. Jaden Smith, man. Jaden Smith. He's in it for the long haul, still in the hills, throwing up charcoal. I love the way that sounds. Anyway, yeah, stick around. Stick around. I've got a lifetime of stuff to do through In the Image Clothing Company. You don't have to really care about what I do as Evan Strong, like personally, me, but I am the founder of this company, and I use that word all encapsulating as just the person that's running this, and yeah, um, it's gonna be cool, and you can be a part of it in a lot of ways, actually, and that's also really cool. Involve yourself in this. That's a big thing, within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's really what keeps you there. That's what keeps you holding fast to the iron rod, which means, keeping you on the straight and narrow path that leads to eternal life with Jesus Christ, is involving yourself. There's a lot of events, essentially, we can use the word event, under, I almost said under In the Image Clothing Company, because yes, but in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there's a lot of things you can involve yourself in, especially here in the state of Utah, where it's so densely populated members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And really what helps you keep your testimony so strong is involving yourself in what there is to do as a church, as a community, as a congregation, as a body, right? The body of Christ, disciples of Jesus Christ, people baptized into the fold, right? The flock of sheep that God is the shepherd over. That's what I mean, dude. I'll sit here as long as I sit here. I'll talk about whatever as long as words need to come out of my mouth, along with the spit that sometimes does. I mean it, dude. This is what I mean about when sometimes I say, I'm going to just sit on it for a second, because I sit on it, and then all this comes when it does, right? I mean, I'm so appreciative to be able to spread the gospel. I'm so appreciative for my journey, because it's so unorthodox and so weird, so backward, unorthodox and untraditional. This life is like a fishing hole. It's like a fishing pole. You never know what you're gonna get, right? I say these things. Yeah, it's unfamiliar roads, unexpected roads. We meet God in places where we never thought we'd be, places we never wanted to be. Sometimes we do hit rock bottom, and that's the best thing for us, because that's what actually turns our life around. All these things, dude. I don't even know what I'm saying for sure, as in, like, this isn't necessarily just one topic of, like, a specific thing, but that's why I say we just discussed the truth of all things here under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I mean, these are things that everybody can relate to across the entirety of the earth forever. The things that I'm saying right now is what I mean, right? Yeah, bro. Struggles, right? And we're supposed to struggle too as human beings, so yeah. It's a gift. It's a gift. It's gonna be so cool to have our own building. I think that's one of the big things that I've been like hit with past couple days. Because I've known we'll have our own place like that for quite some time, but it'll be really cool. Just a central place for the team to be. And again, so much done through video. We could do the podcast there. I feel like we probably will. It never has to be higher production value than this. It doesn't. But we'll do the things that we'll do when we do them. Okay. And we'll have the resources that we will have with having our own building. And that'll be great. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. So don't say I didn't tell you in advance. I mean it. Okay. Yeah, look at the setup of Red, the guitar. For those of you in video plus audio, it's good. It's really pretty darn good. Right now. Okay. And that's good. Set up. It's good to be set up for success. We'll set the poodle puppies up for their whole life with their new owners. We're setting people up for a lifetime of life-changing devotion to Jesus Christ when we preach the gospel to people who haven't heard it before. Setting people's bodies up to just operate through In the Image Clothing Company, even just shoelacing, right, with shoes you already have. But In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, just the only way you can weave a rope across the top of the human foot without altering its mechanics, traveling through the whole body. But then In the Image Clothing Company clothing, we're setting people up for life of understanding of what they need in clothing to allow their bodies to work, right? Lots of big things. That's what I mean. Expect big things. We're not just some clothing company. So much more than just a clothing company. I used to have, typed, in one of the places that we have our videos placed. Yeah, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Okay, it's big. Don't say I didn't tell you it would be. Don't think I'm gonna be shocked. I'm not. I mean, I'm going to be like full of gratitude, and it's going to fill me like, man, Father, always going to be a shock of what God has done for me and things like that, the gifts he gives me, like the building that we have and the company as it is, and all the opportunities through what we do under all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. But I'm not going to be surprised because I know the reasons I'm doing all this, and I know what God can do because there's nothing he can't do. Yeah. So thank you. And there I go again, trying to make it prematurely cut on my end. This is like some of those earlier episodes, bro. I feel like this is how it used to be, just like so chilled out. And then some of the episodes, it's like I'm sitting there like it sounds like I, am mad, like yelling at people. Yeah, there's a dynamic, dude. There's sides to a human being. That's what I mean. I just show it as it is. I'm just here, regardless of how I'm feeling when I film these episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I just do it when I'm prompted to. So, yeah, big things, crazy things with nylon strings. Yeah, check this out. Right, I show it, but I wrap those E strings the opposite direction as the rest of them up at the headstock so that they're all pulling on the same angle. People do that often on classical style guitars with the tuning barrels rather than the tuning pegs on steel string guitars. At least that's usually how it is for those two types of guitars, distinguishing the difference between the two, right? But yeah, context. There you go. Allow your body to work. And then at the bottom end, right, we tie knots or whatever it ends up being that you attach the strings to the bottom end of the guitar, the bridge of your guitar specifically. It might be different than other ones because guitars are different often than other ones. Have the strings pull out, okay? Whatever knot you tie or whatever, okay? Same thing with the top. They're slightly